It's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? A sonorous disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the window, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you wanna make the world a better place, take a look at yourself, then make a change. Na 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 na. I've been a victim of a selfish kind of love. It's time that I realize there's
KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to First Things First. I'm James Farr. I'm sitting in this week for the Queen, Dominique DePrima, all week long, and I guess I got stuck looking at the man in the mirror as I was coming into this to this segment, and I am so honored and pleased to be joined in studio with my colleague here at KBLA Talk 1580. He is the host of the Reconstruction Project, and it airs every Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on this station, with the rebroadcast at 3 p.m. And you know, everybody has that cousin in the family, right? That just move a little bit differently, but you still love them because they come through and they cue up some Michael Jackson, right, as a disarming,
as an entry tactic.
Yeah, as a sound bed. They come in with some Michael. You know, I didn't want to make any. First of all, good morning, Brother John.
Good morning, Brother James.
How you doing?
I'm
Our first time on the mic, you know, but I didn't want to make any assumptions because you know, politically you are self-identify as a Republican.
This is correct.
That's not a secret, right?
It's not a secret.
Okay, all right. So I just want to make sure we're doing everything.
But you know, it's funny because you know that does still actually surprise some people, because you know people, and you probably know this as a public person yourself, but some people know you for a long time, and other people kind of catch you mid-sentence in your career or in a given context. So sometimes what happens is, cause it's not like I'm always walking around talking about being a Republican. That's
right.
I'm happy to talk about as much as you want, but it's not like my main topic of
that's not who you are as a person in total.
Right, exactly. But sometimes, you know, I've had it happen in different contexts where people be like, wow, you know, I just heard about the John Wood Jr. guy. I really like him. I love what he says about X, Y, and Z and so forth. And then it'll come up, he's a Republican. It's like, what? Screech? Hold up. I need an explanation, you know? So, you know, but I'm full of grace for that. And, you know, part of what you know about me is that I am very much sort of a dissident within the Republican Party.
I got some questions for you.
But while still being, you know, plainly self-identified as fundamentally a philosophically conservative person, right? So I don't make any bones about that, but I'm just me.
Yeah. I mean, you know, what I was saying is, you know, I didn't know if you was going to, you know, cue up, you know, maybe a track from Jay-Z's 30-year concert or whatever, or if we was going to have some stagecoach type. I didn't know what I was going to walk into.
All sorts of directions we could have gone. I do have a bit of a family lineage in West Coast rap. You know, my cousin's father anyway, was Mac 10 of the West Side Connection.
What?
Oh, yeah. And so, I mean, I grew up in a jazz family, particularly on my father's side. My mother's a rhythm and blues singer named Deonda Theus. LA folks will often know her.
Right,
She danced
right.
on Soul Train back in the late 70s
Okay.
and whatnot. So music is actually the original part of the family background. And so, that's got at least as much as politics to do with informing, who I am and how I come at things. But in the black community context, there's always been this deep relationship between culture, the spiritual moral vision, and how we move in democracy. So part of what I love about KBLA is that I get to weave all these themes together
And
in a way that coheres.
You do it in a way that would probably sound like a kid liking Brussels sprouts, right? Like, I mean, it is a for some palate, right, a very bitter and tart. But some way you season it in a way with a little bit of soul. So
I appreciate that.
Should we call you the soulful Republican? I mean, like, I'm trying to figure out, because you make it, you like that.
Whatever rolls off the tongue, brother. Whatever rolls off the tongue. The proof is in the pudding.
But I'm going to flatline this, right? So
Okay.
that we come into our next segment when we move forward from an equal footing, because you said something that, really you could show up as either the pariah, the unicorn, or where they get this dude from, right? Like, you become that guy when dominoes come up and perhaps somebody say, man, you could be that guy, right? Well, I understand that, right? Because you mentioned how you show up in community and people may catch you mid-sentence and may see you in one context or another, and then they instantly just assume, like, I voted for Kamala Harris. And then I tell them, and they look at me and the first thing they say is, you voted for Trump? No.
Yeah, right. No, did not vote for Donald Trump. I've never voted for Donald Trump either in a Republican primary or in a general election. Now, it's funny, of course, where I first come into the political picture as somebody folks know, and in Black LA, some folks still remember, but I was a Republican nominee for Congress in 2014. I ran against Maxine Waters.
Correct.
In that cycle, right? And as you can imagine, I walked into a bit of a hailstorm in terms of that experience, but I ran in a way that was really about love for the community. I just had a different point of view on policy, and I got a story behind that. But the reason I mentioned that in contrast to the Trump era is because the advent of Donald Trump has kind of created a new category in the minds of some folks. Some folks on the left where it's kind of like, we grateful for the sensible Republicans now. We just throw all y'all in the same box.
Fair. That's fair. It's like, all right.
And by the way, I'm not trying to throw Trump supporting Black Republicans under the bus either. I take up for everybody in terms of where they're coming from in their humanity, but just as an accurate reflection of where I'm coming from. That vision of the Republican Party and conservatism is certainly not my own.
All right.
But I do advocate for something that is grounded in sort of practicality, grounded in sort of a relationship to tradition, and something that recognizes the fact that as a practical matter, it is an actually important thing for Black people to have representation in both parties.
Absolutely.
And I think we've lost vantage point on that strategic imperative. So that's something I speak up for as well.
Absolutely. So here's what we're going to do today, John.
Yeah.
Now that, I can tell you now, put your gloves away, okay? You won't need them.
Okay.
Dominique punches on anybody that sits in that seat, right? I'm unarmed.
I get to practice my bobbing.
Okay, I'm unarmed, all right? So we're going to have an honest conversation when we come forward, because what happened just last week, a friend of mine since college, long time, right? Good brother, all of it. I mean, all of it. He's you are I, we are each other, right? But he said to me, I voted for Trump, but I don't support him.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm trying to, and I'm like, anyway, I thought a vote was support, but when we come forward, I really want to get inside the head of a Black Republican and kind of understand how. I'm gonna give you a little safe passage on first things first this morning. We're gonna let you talk, right? We want you to help us understand, because we all think you crazy. Okay. So I want you to disprove.
Well, you ain't wrong. The question is the reasons why I'm crazy.
Right.
A whole bunch of reasons I'm crazy.
Stay with us. John Wood's in studio with me. Y'all know him from the Reconstruction Project right here on KBLA Talk 15. 1250. More when we come forward. Only on KBLA, Talk 1580. We got your black.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-550-9651.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
Or call 800-550-9651. That's 800-550-9651.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
Carpal tunnel syndrome, heart failure that doesn't improve with common medicines. These are some signs and symptoms associated with ATTR-CM, or the cardiomyopathy of ATTR amyloidosis, a serious heart condition with symptoms that get worse over time. Amvuttra, vutrisiran, is a prescription medicine given by a healthcare provider that treats ATTR-CM in adults to reduce heart-related death, hospital stays, and urgent visits. In a clinical study, Amvuttra was proven to help people live longer and have fewer heart-related hospital stays and urgent visits over 3 years compared to placebo. Amvuttra lowers the amount of vitamin A in your blood, which can affect vision. Other side effects include pain in the arms or legs, pain in the joints, and shortness of breath. These are not all the possible side effects of Amvuttra. For prescribing information, call 1-833-256-2748 or learn more at amvuttra.com. Ask your doctor about Amvuttra for ATTR-CM. Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
That's right. You're listening to First Things First, KBLA Talk 1580. I'm James Farr. I'm sitting in for the Queen, Dominique DePrima, holding it down all week. And I am joined on this Talking Point Tuesday by my colleague in studio. He is the host of the Reconstruction Project, which airs right here on this station every Sunday live at 9 a.m. and then there's a rebroadcast at 3 p.m. So if you need to,
At 11 p.m. if you need to get to sleep.
Oh man, so you got 3 slots, right?
I didn't even know that until somebody told me the other day. I was like, man, they gave me the bedtime slot too. Okay.
So John could be your Sunday school, right? Or he can be your afternoon service.
That's right.
And then if you need a little late night,
I can wake you up, or I can put you to bed, or I can join you for lunch.
Well,
whatever you need on a Sunday.
That's interesting. You would say you say that, John, and I think it segues into my curiosity and even being able to. Some people, man, your political identity is such a repellent. It's an irritant, right?
Oh man.
I mean, I'm just.
No, I understand.
I'm saying what it is, right?
Yeah.
And so, You know, to that point, I didn't even know you were on at 11 o'clock, and I don't know that I would even want to take that with me into my night of slumber. Right?
Although, you know, it's not like Republican politics is the focus, the Reconstruction Project.
I understand.
So on that particular program, we do talk about politics, but what we're talking about is shining a light on the spectrum of the black experience, the black identity, right? And, of course, the Republican point does factor in. It factors into our conversation here because we are a great people,
Yes.
a broad and diverse people, but a people who move in the world and come into our points of view from many different experiences culturally and philosophically, right? And so, you know, the black Republican perspective is itself diverse.
Yes.
Is itself something that falls into a number of different categories, and it does represent strands of the fabric of the larger community of black people in America in a way that, you know, to the degree to which we can learn about those various strands, we learn more about ourselves, right? So there's value in that kind of conversation, including as it pertains to black Republicans, both like and unlike myself.
I told y'all he was smooth. I told you he know how to act at the barbecue, right? I mean, he just made me really think about that perspective in a way that, again, that goes back to that approachability part of it. And so what I was saying earlier is, you know, I don't know that I would want to go to sleep with Fox News on, right?
Well,
yeah, I don't know if I'd want to go to sleep with Newsmax on. I know I don't go to sleep with because I wouldn't want. But I'm saying that about you, John, is that you make discomfort, right, on a subject for people who are irritated by it a little bit more understanding that we ain't got to agree, but I feel like I'm better informed because of the work and the agency you have. But I'm going to still kick your butt and bones and tell you got to go when you get to talking that crazy stuff. So since we in that framing, right, it's summer, it's hot, the cookouts is happening. You know, I've heard some people floated around this idea of buyer's remorse. You know, you got folks who did vote for Trump, obviously, right, and are, first of all, the ones that I know who are brave enough to admit it, you know, because yes, I wouldn't have called it a defection from one party or another. I think politics and parties evolve, right, or whichever. That's me putting, you know, a label on what your personal
parties are always changing.
They're always changing, right? People change, right? And so I have issue with those who vote a certain way and then try to mask it as if they showed up a different way. Stand on it, right? But a friend of mine last week, we were in a spirited conversation about Jay-Z and kind of this iteration of Jay-Z, and you know, we're living we're reliving 30 years ago and where we were at that moment, and somehow the conversation drifted off into politics, as things do, and somehow he managed to tell me, you know, that he voted for Trump.
He was like, if Jay-Z and Nas can get along, me and James, we can.
Right. That was the moment, right? We was having that kind of thing, right? You know what I mean? It was, you know, I hadn't did the ether or anything like that. I mean, but so that was the spirit of the conversation. What are we really tripping off our brother? Let's just take care of our families, and this in between stuff is inconsequential. But when he tried to offer me, right, that he voted for Trump, but he wasn't a Trump supporter. And I said, I'm sorry. I mean, if nothing else signals or delineates or designates a supporter, it doesn't say supporter on the ballot, but I think it's pretty safe to infer that
isn't that what support means?
Right.
Is that you voted for the man.
That you voted for the man. Right. So what's happening in that space? Because you just said you are a Republican. And I don't know if you were running with the label Never Trumper or No Trump, whatever those things that were being tossed around and stuff like that. What's happening here?
Right. Well, so, you know, truth be told, there's sort of a whole wing, not just of black Republicans, but of the Republican Party broadly speaking, who I think sort of look at themselves in the way that your friend just articulated.
Okay.
Right? They vote for Trump, but you know they don't really support Trump. Or what I think your friend is really saying.
See, here we go.
But I'm gonna take
bring the gloves in here. I'm gonna John on that.
No. I'm gonna take you into the substance of where they're coming from.
Okay.
Right? Because what it is, and you can see this represented in polls. and now I'm talking about the Republican Party broadly speaking, you've got about 30% or so of the Republican Party who are diehard Trump loyalists. And this is the portion of the party that pushed Trump way over the top in the Republican primary.
Can
right?
I
Way back
can
in
I
2016.
ask a question?
Right.
So because again, I'm tracking and following. So 30% diehard, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
like
so
30 to...
cool. I don't know the demographic characteristics, behavior, identity of any, what makes that 30% up. But
Yeah.
is it safe to bake into that 30% that they're anti-black racists? That in that 30%, because I'm want to get to a qualified number of 30% of your base
right.
Republican Party are racist, and then we can move from there. I mean, because you ain't racist, but
yeah, no, that's a fascinating question. What I would expect to be true, and what I think, we could probably find some data to corroborate it, is that just to say it bluntly, the white people in America, and people of different colors too, who are most hostile to racial diversity, whether it be a function of immigration, whether it's there being kind of deep South inherited kind of racial bigotry against black people, that the people who are most ensconced in that bigotry are probably overrepresented in that 30%.
okay.
Now, I don't know if that means that it's like, 75% of that 30% or 40% of that 30% or what have you, but that's where those people are, right? Politically speaking, and as a matter of fact, part of the reason, to the extent to which Trump has lost any support among those people, it's because Donald Trump, over time, particularly with the war in Iran, has appeared to be way too friendly to Israel, and these people got problems with Jews, right? So that's just one data point in terms of where, like, Nick Fuentes, for instance, and his supporters are kind of jumping off the Trump train because Trump ain't going hard enough on some of these groups, right? And so that is a real factor. But I was having a conversation with a man in the sort of conservative philanthropic arena recently, who basically made the point that the organizations that he works with are led by people who can't stand Donald Trump, but they voted for him because from their vantage point, the left got so extreme that the imperative for the survival of the nation was obliterating the progressive left politically, and that part of what they resent is the fact that they have to stomach the indignity of supporting a man like Donald Trump in order to be able to do that, but that's nevertheless the decision that they made. So I could take you into that perspective and where that comes from, but just in terms of the spectrum of sentiments that exists within the Republican Party, you got people who vote for Donald Trump because they believe he is literally ordained by God to be the leader of America. And that's Trump's got the most intense base of support that any politician in America has had, maybe even including Barack Obama, when you get into that core, right? But then, he only gets a majority in the Republican, he only gets a sufficient majority in the Republican Party to win because you've got a whole other chunk of people who are polarized against the left, that they vote for Donald Trump even though they don't like the man because they feel that threatened by the Democratic Party. Right. And so I'm assuming that your friend is probably coming from that branch. And then you got about, 6% of Republicans who are never Trump Republicans who just won't vote for Trump no matter what. I don't wave the flag never Trump Republican, but I'm basically in that camp. I've never voted for Donald Trump, like I said. And definitely won't if he's going to be running for a third term, which I wouldn't put past him. But that's kind of the spectrum in basic terms.
You know what? I had like one of my pawpaw moments. Like, say what now? Because what I told y'all this brother can make it smooth right now, whether or not he believes what he just said to me, but he just explained to all of us why and how people will back racist policies even though they don't like the person advancing them. John, that is the textbook definition of systemic racism. I'll look the other way as long as I get what I want. Stay with us more with John Wood Jr. and James Farr, only on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is up next.
You can't fix what you won't face.
And we face it every day.
This is KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. South Florida's World Cup Human Trafficking Task Force says its operations during the tournament led to 178 arrests and the rescue of 17 victims. Miami-Dade County State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rundle.
It's a very complicated but very important multi-pronged approach to this horrific crime.
Officials credit undercover investigations and public tips for helping combat human trafficking. A legal dispute has emerged over the estate of late actor Chadwick Boseman. His brothers are asking a court to remove his widow, Taylor Simone Ledward Boseman, as administrator, alleging she has not completed the distribution of assets nearly 4 years after a court order directed the estate to be settled. And the Philadelphia 76ers have officially announced the signing of LeBron James. The NBA's all-time leading scorer joins Philadelphia as he prepares for a record-setting 24th season. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The first week of training camps around the NFL has had some disturbing news involving coaches. Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, one of the few African-American offensive coordinators in the NFL, is with his wife Mia in a Virginia hospital. Mia Bieniemy is in stable condition after being shot Monday in the couple's home by their 27-year-old son Elijah. The son has been arrested with no bail. San Francisco 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan is in the NFL's concussion protocol after he was involved in a car crash. Shanahan has a concussion, a broken nose, and 3 broken ribs. Shanahan hopes to be healthy enough to return to work for the regular season opener against the Rams on September 10th in Australia. And Magic Johnson's Washington Commanders fired tight ends coach Ben Steele Monday after a DWI charge last week. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's do this.
Every vote matters. Every voice counts. And between now and November, the decisions made in Washington, Sacramento, and here at home in Los Angeles will shape the future of your family and your community. Don't leave it to chance, and don't leave it to guesswork. KBLA Talk 1580 is your source for the political conversations that matter most. Real talk, real insight, right here. KBLA Talk 1580, the place for politics.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
Michael's tax debt with the IRS was an absolute nightmare.
I ended up owing about $160,000.
Then he found out about Clarity Tax Relief.
Clarity Tax Relief are some of the nicest people. It's like being part of a family.
And when it was over,
Clarity Tax Relief saved me a boatload of money, and the garnishment stopped, which was a beautiful thing.
Call Clarity Tax Relief now. 800-644-5111. 800-644-5111. Individual results may vary. Visit claritytaxrelief.com for more.
Brothers and sisters!
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Be heard. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
That's right. Welcome back. Welcome forward. James Farr sitting in for Dominique DePrima. I'm joined in studio by my colleague, John Wood Jr., the host of the Reconstruction Project, which airs right here on KBLA Talk 1580 Sundays, 9 a.m. live, and there's a rebroadcast at 3 p.m. And then we both just learned that, you know, sometimes it's so nice you got to have it twice, but, you know, you run it at like 3 the hard way. John, who else is on Sunday? I mean, I'm on Sundays.
In such glee, we had to make it 3, I guess. Yeah. 9 a.m., 3 p.m., 11 p.m. If you missed the first 2, just don't strike out.
Look, if you couldn't believe that he said what he said, and you just need one more help
to confirm it,
right? That's like that biscuit left out on the stove. So, John, you have first of all, I just can't say it enough. I'm understanding differently, right? And you know, but. I slid something past you that we just were talking off air, right? I mean, I'm wearing a jersey, right?
You are.
I can't turn around because I'd get out of the microphone, but it on the back of it, it has a 4 and a 2 and a Robinson on it, right?
That's right. Brooklyn Dodgers.
One
Jackie
of
Robinson.
the most beloved Pasadenians, right?
Yes,
Hardcore,
that's right.
Hardcore Republican, right?
Oh, he was. Yeah, he was.
What is the difference, right, between that Republican Party today?
Well, you know,
because if he identified as a Republican today, I don't know that I would be as inclined, right? I might put on I might put on a Mookie Betts jersey, right? And I'm not a Dodgers fan, for the record. But but what's the difference between Robinson's Republican Party and the contemporary?
I'm guessing you're not going to go home bumping Nicki Minaj down the freeway either.
Not today or yesterday.
Okay, that might have been a pre-existing condition with Brother James, though. Well, you know, Jackie Robinson's Republican Party was was sort of 2 or 3 Republican parties ago. You could at least say. You see, the thing about the Republican Party in Jackie Robinson's time, and so now I'm really talking about, you know, the 50s and the 1960s in particular, is that the Republican Party, like the Democratic Party, was not necessarily ideologically bound. And what I mean by that is that in those days, you actually had a strong contingent of liberal Republicans in the party, liberal Republicans. and you had a strong contingent of conservative Democrats simultaneously in the Democratic Party. And this brings me to my point about the simple utility of having people speaking up for black interests within the framework of each party, because it was that pre-existing cross-partisan presence of black people in each party that allowed for the civil rights movement to be successful, because each party ultimately had a vested interest in winning black votes, right?
Yeah.
Now, the Martin Luther King Sr. was a Republican, right? Dr. King was sort of a self-identified independent, but he voted Democrat in every presidential election of his life, with the possible exception of Dwight Eisenhower in '56. I'm not sure if we know the answer to that question. But the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act passed because you had strong portions of mostly liberal Republicans from the North, from the West, Midwest, voting for those bills in a way that allowed that bipartisan majority to overcome the resistance of conservative Republicans and particularly Southern Dixiecrats, right? Southern conservative white Democrats. But the Republican Party has always been more oriented towards entrepreneurialism. It's been more oriented towards business. So even while you had liberal Republicans who were liberal on the issues of civil rights, they still tended to be pro-business type folks. And I think that was sort of the kind of Republican that Jackie Robinson was. But more broadly speaking, the history of black people in the Republican Party, of course, dates back to abolition.
Sure.
Dates back to the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican president, basically sort of cemented the loyalty of black people politically coming out of the Civil War on the basis of that affiliation. And that began to shift in the 1930s with the New Deal. So, the Great Depression is wreaking havoc across America. Poverty hits its nadir in America at that time. So the New Deal, the public programs meant to put a floor under people that Roosevelt advanced, brought over about half of black voters at that time into the Democratic Party. And so by the time you get to John Kennedy in 1960, you got about 2/3 of black people who are now voting Democrat, but you still have this sizable minority of black Republicans, and that doesn't really change until coming through the latter part of the civil rights movement. The gains of civil rights are associated with Kennedy and Lyndon Baines Johnson in particular. And Southern Dixiecrats wind up voting for Barry Goldwater in 1964, and of course they shift over over time, the Southern white folks become culturally conservative, not just already culturally conservative on race, but evangelical conservatism also leads to the rise of the moral majority and Ronald Reagan. And so that puts us on a certain pathway. But Donald Trump's Republican Party is still different even from Reagan's party, even from all of that, because with Reagan, you had sort of this traditional view of America as a society rooted in Christian values, or rooted in individual liberties, rooted in freedom, and we're opposing communism internationally and so forth. And we can talk all sorts of stuff about the Reagan era. But with Donald Trump, it is a nationalist, populist, and in many respects sort of a cult of personality, where there's not really kind of that fidelity to like low taxes and so forth. There's not really that fidelity to free trading and so forth. Donald Trump can start a war or not. He is sort of a cult of personality figure where he is so dominant that it's hard to discern any policy kind of consistency in a lot of areas. What you do see are the ways in which he enriches himself and his own power through his policies.
Sure.
And there is sort of a muscular sort of sense of America as being like a great nation, but on the basis of power, on the basis of wealth, as opposed to sort of the way Reagan framed it, which is that, well, we're carrying on this great legacy of the founders. We're carrying on this sort of constitutional order and so forth.
I think what's missing, John, in your prose, right? And I hear it, and it perfectly and articulates us through the chronology, right? And I asked a very specific question. I didn't ask this part of the question. The specific question I asked was, was Robinson's Republican Party versus what we're seeing now, right?
Right.
I don't know that I'm even qualified to even kind
Which
of
is just bring it all the way down to the race question.
There you go.
It's
That's
so
where I'm back
Robinson's so what I was getting at with the sort of the liberal, and when I say liberal Republicans in the 1960s, I mean that in a few ways, but particularly with respect to the race question as it existed at that time. There was a civil rights coalition constituency of black and white Republicans in the party at that time, which made the civil rights era legislation a possibility. Now, I think that fairness compels me to acknowledge the fact that in his first term, Donald Trump signed criminal justice reform. And, Van Jones worked with Jared Kushner in a way that and brought together certain constituencies to allow that to pass through.
In the culture, they've replaced Michael Jordan crying meme
with
Van Jones crying about
Well, look, I think that what Van would say is that the substance of that legislation fell short of what they wanted to pass under Obama, but that it was the best that they could do.
Trump
in given the context of
Trump Trojan horse antics and tactics do not impress me, right? They don't really impress people in the culture. Prison reform needed to be done. An administration before, an administration before, an administration before.
Sure.
So that was an opportunistic play, and less
Well,
than
that may
what I see as actual equity and justice.
Oh, look,
And
I'm not.
So
I'm
that's
not
the talking point. There you go with the talking point.
No.
I'm not. Me be nice.
I'm not suggesting necessarily that Donald Trump had a pre-existing commitment to social justice that resulted in that policy being signed.
It was political opportunity.
And of course that's the way so much politics is done.
Absolutely.
Just generally speaking. But I'm trying to just be fair because I know that folks who are pro-Trump would be listening and say, "Hey, wait a second, that happened," right? And I don't want to ignore that fact because it is a fact. But nevertheless, I think that there was in the Republican Party of Jackie Robinson's era a conscious commitment among at least a substantial wing of Republicans to the idea that there was a project of repair, of equality, and of support for the historic quest of black Americans for meaningful opportunity in America that is largely absent in the Republican Party of today and was diminishing, I think, in the Republican Party of previous generations between, let's say, Robinson and Trump. Because there is this sense that, well, look, we defeated racism a long time ago in America. If you're the type of Republican who takes the idea that there are really no problems facing black people of a systemic nature once you get past the Voting Rights Act, right? Or you're the type of Republican who's like, I don't like black people anyway, and that's why I'm voting. That's why I'm voting for Trump. Or coming from a racially prejudiced point of view. So the Republican Party has largely been hollowed out of its connection to that Lincoln legacy, to that Jackie Robinson legacy.
I don't know if that
I think that's a big part of the difference.
I don't think that shows up in quite the way that you articulated, because the Republican Party, and I'm gonna move us forward in a second, because you got some projects coming up we'll talk about in the next segment. The Republican Party that you talk about of Robinson's era, Robinson never returned home to Pasadena. His brother Mac, after running in front of Hitler with Jesse Owens, came home to Pasadena and was no ticker tape parade. It was a mop, a broom, and a janitor's closet.
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so where I'm saying is, I don't know that either of them would recognize the Republican Party of today versus what they lived through, but all of them would recognize the through line of the systemic racism that is baked in. I think this reimagining that we have, that this new Republican Party is something new other than racist, which is why I wanted to focus on that 30% you were talking about, because we often code in the DNA, I should have been 6'5" and 250 pounds and playing NBA basketball. But that's not what I got. I got a brain and a mouthpiece, and that's what I'm going to use. John Wood's in studio with me. We're understanding. He's helping me understand Republicans, black Republicans, and y'all can still invite him to the barbecue. He'll tell you how to reach out with him when we come forward. Talking about some of his new projects, man, this time is going by, John. Stay with us only on KBLA Talk 1580. We got your black.
Beautiful.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from Nitsa and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You deserve a treat, a $10 bill credit treat. If you get an LADWP paper bill but go online to pay it, stop! Break up with your mailbox. It's time to go paperless. With paperless billing, bill reminders come straight to your inbox. You can access 7 years of past bills in your online account, and you don't have to deal with paper clutter piling up. It's a win for you, your time, and the environment. $10 bill credit for new LADWP paperless billing signups. LADWP.com/paperless.
Some things can steal your sunshine. Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
That's right. The conversation does continue right now, just not with who you think it is. James Farr, in for the Queen, Dominique DePrima, and I'm joined by my colleague, John Wood Jr., the host of the Reconstruction Project, which airs right here on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm going to know your schedule better than you now, right? Every Sunday at 9 a.m., rebroadcast at 3 p.m., and if that ain't enough and you just need a little bit more helping, right? Yeah. There's that old piece of chicken on the stove on the Sunday afternoon. That's John.
Right. Put you to bed at 11
Put
p.m.
you to bed
too,
at 11, and he's so smooth with his voice, right? I mean, I'm telling you, brother, you could have did a Colt 45 commercial, right? You just delivered real smooth.
I got a gear for all occasions. Just depends on what I'm stepping into.
Before we get into, as we kind of get ready to land this thing, before we get into some of the projects that you're working on, off air, the conversations are always the best. You get to talk about different things, and you pointed out some that I had in my notes, and we would do our audience a disservice, do the allegation a disservice without helping them understand. So a Black Republican versus other Republicans and, convert conservatism as opposed to moderate, right?
Well,
because you've used both, or you've used all of that, right?
I mean, all of that language kind of spills into each other. What I would say is that, there is a spectrum to black Republicans themselves. And it's even maybe more useful to use the term conservative here. And in my experience, and look, I say this as somebody who was a Republican nominee for Congress at one point in time, who has interacted with Republicans on the institutional and the national level, but also on the grassroots and the local level. And I've got no judgment in any direction here, but what I would point out is that there are many black Republicans who are Republicans who happen to be black, right? But whose political sensibilities line up more with wanting to conserve a certain mainstream view of American society, which in many cases are sort of beyond race. I mean, I've always had a little bit of tension with black conservatives black Republicans who talk in a way towards sort of as if they've graduated from the black experience, right?
Like an Officer Tatum type. I said that, not you. That may be your homeboy, right? But that type. Right?
I don't. Yeah. I don't really know.
You don't know who that is?
No, I know who you talking about. Okay, I'm just saying I haven't connected, but I'd love for him to invite me on his show. So James said it.
I said it.
Tatum. James said it, Brother Tatum.
But put it out there like a Candace Owens type, right?
Well,
we'll put you out there.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that this is the kind of black Republican who we've gotten really used to seeing, because they tend to be more elevated in the Fox News universe, in the conservative media sphere, and in the Republican Party at various points in time, because they're black people who are advancing an overall sort of Republican Party agenda, and that's what they're trying to conserve. They're trying to conserve low taxes and deregulation. And again, not judging that or knocking that. It just is what it is. You mentioned Candace Owens. The late, great Bob Woodson. I don't know if you know much about Bob, James. Yeah, well, look, Bob was in preeminent black conservative community organizers in America, and was a man who mentored me, who I knew well. I mean, I'm on record as saying that he's the closest thing we had to a Booker T. Washington.
Oh, wow.
In our time.
That's a lift.
Right. Well, look, I mean, he raised hundreds of anti-poverty, anti-violence, financial literacy organizations from Watts to Chicago to South Africa over the course of 40 years. I mean, his record really is formidable. But the reason I mentioned Bob, because Bob was an avowed black conservative, but what he was trying to conserve was the culture and sense of self-sufficiency of the black community itself. And he was coming from a point of view that there are no actual shortage of black Democrats coming from a similar point of view as well, which says that ultimately we need to be focused on catalyzing the means of our own self-sufficiency in a way that minimizes our reliance on government. It doesn't necessarily mean that government doesn't have a role in providing a certain floor underneath folks, but whether you agree with this economic diagnosis or disagree with it, the thing that motivates black conservatives of that kind is a desire to see the black community hold together and operate of its own power and potential in an era in which the black community is empirically demonstrable, dissolving through forces of poverty, institutionalization, and yes, also gentrification.
But there
right?
that drifts so far into the talking points because and I think.
But I'm just giving you a window, James, into where a lot of black conservatives are coming from, in contrast to what you see in terms of the mainstream presentation of black Republicans.
But it's not an original thought. It
doesn't have to be. It's not. That's the point. It's not original thought. It's the pre-existing point of view.
It's absent of the black experience. Right. I think what's in the architecture of that thought is a white experience with white expectations and privileges and moments that come in. So I don't want to run out of time. You got some projects coming up. We'll do this again.
Let's have a round two of this, because I would disagree that this is not something that's connected to a historic black experience. I mean, part of the thing that Bob would talk about is the long history of self-sufficient black communities that begins to diminish as you move through the era of the Great Society.
No, I got
right?
you. I'm living
and
it.
So it's just to say that there's a conversation to be had there, right?
It is our guidance in how we get there. I think the directions for what we both want equally, party politics aside, is a collective and better existing for black Americans.
Oh,
right?
100%.
That's
100%.
how we get there. You know, you put okra in your gumbo, somebody else put some.
And I want to see black conservatives want to be a part of that black conversation.
They don't show up. Right? How do people tell me about the
Well,
project?
I'm asking them to.
Please do. We got.
And I'm here, but
I'm here. No, you good. You always invited, right?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
We got about a minute left. What's happening with your new project? Where can people find you?
I've
told them a million times when the show airs.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, people will know that for years I've been national ambassador for Braver Angels, America's largest organization dedicated to political depolarization. While still being friendly and affiliated, I'm launching an independent new media venture called the Omni American Society, building up a digital online media network for the revival of the beloved community in America in a way that reframes the conversation over culture in our country. I encourage folks to take a look at it. We've got a Substack up right now that's the number 10 fastest growing Substack in America.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you very much. You can find it at Omni American Society. That's OMNI American. OmniAmericanSociety.substack.com. Or look up John Wood Jr. at Substack and you'll see more.
That's John Wood. I'm James Farr, holding it down for Queen Dominique Prima, who is out all week, and Tavis Smiley is up next. And I just looked at the lineup, y'all. Y'all don't want to go anywhere. Stay with us. Get some water. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk about.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. South Florida's World Cup Human Trafficking Task Force says its operations during the tournament led to 178 arrests and the rescue of 17 victims. Miami-Dade County State Attorney Catherine Fernandez-Rundle.
It's a very complicated but very important multi-pronged approach to this horrific crime.
Officials credit undercover investigations and public tips for helping combat human trafficking. A legal dispute has emerged over the estate of late actor Chadwick Boseman. His brothers are asking a court to remove his widow, Taylor Simone Ledward Boseman, as administrator, alleging she has not completed the distribution of assets nearly 4 years after a court order directed the estate to be settled. And the Philadelphia 76ers have officially announced the signing of LeBron James. The NBA's all-time leading scorer joins Philadelphia as he prepares for a record-setting 24th season. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The first week of training camps around the NFL has had some disturbing news involving coaches. Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, one of the few African-American offensive coordinators in the NFL, is with his wife Mia in a Virginia hospital. Mia Bieniemy is in stable condition after being shot Monday in the couple's home by their 27-year-old son Elijah. The son has been arrested with no bail. San Francisco 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan is in the NFL's concussion protocol after he was involved in a car crash. Shanahan has a concussion, a broken nose, and 3 broken ribs. Shanahan hopes to be healthy enough to return to work for the regular season opener against the Rams on September 10th in Australia. And Magic Johnson's Washington Commanders fired tight ends coach Ben Steele Monday after a DWI charge last week. No debates.